Hello, 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 everyone. How is everyone doing? Sorry for the 5 second delay after the intro started. I was looking at some more Bostic comments. Fed, remember, Fed is speakies. They were doing their speakies. I'm going to keep saying that because Bob doesn't like it. But that being said, nice little fun day today. Fun day. It's the kind of days you gotta love. Gotta love these kind of days. Happy Wealthy Wednesday. Are you still long, George? Is that why you're happy Wealthy Wednesday? Guys, gotta take the emotion out of this. Gotta take the emotion out. It's not good if you win, not bad if you lose. It just is. Flip the burgers. Flip the burgers. Hello, Amit. The retracement levels were spot on. The Spiders gap down, held the 62.5, then filled this morning gap. Question: when will we fill yesterday's gap? You guys want all the answers? Boy, I can't do that for free on the YouTube. You'll have to buy the super secret course, which is only revealed to the super secret members for the super secret price. Hey, Patrick. Good evening, Anissa. Funny day. I didn't think it was funny. I thought this was a great day. What kind of doji do we have? It's a long-legged doji. Tricky rig day today. What does rig day mean? Boba hoba. Hey, Gary. Do it. Hey, Ted. All right. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just falling to it. And then this, it's like who needs financial news media? Who needs anything when you got the ongoing Twitter Elon stuff? That's the best thing ever. It's literally the most enjoyment I've had in a long time, just from a pure financial. I'll just call it the financial follies. Let's recap a little stuff. We'll look at some price action for today. We had, remember, 15 minutes after the open, we had the composite PMI and services PMI from S&P, still in contraction mode, slightly beating, still in contraction mode. More important, ISM. So anybody looking for the ISM to be weaker, especially the employment component, saying, hey, look, it's starting to drop. The Fed pivot, or pause, whatever. I'm just going to use a pivot number. That did not disappoint. It did disappoint the pivot people, but it did not disappoint from a Fed perspective with their continued path. And we've had more Fed speakies, and I'm not seeing anything at all where they're deviating from the message that they've been touting for a while now. So ISM beating forecast, slightly down from previous, but just in the realm of slight fluctuation. That's still a very strong number. Employment numbers up from previous and still well in expansion. Prices, slight pullback, but our lowest print since about January 21. However, price component's still strong. Then we had our OPEC plus meeting today, the 2 million barrel cut, which is really about a 1 million barrel cut because they were already missing their mark there. And then we had a draw on crude oil. But crude oil, it still went up, but not as much. I'm starting to watch for another rollover play just from a technical perspective, or at least a pausing play. And now we have Bostic speaking. That's what I was looking at when I was 5 seconds delayed in hitting the button. I got sidetracked. Tomorrow, we got initial and continuing jobless claims. Remember, very minor compared to Friday non-farm payroll. And then we have more Fed speaky, as I'm going to keep saying. And that's not till lunchtime. Central Time, and then after the close and also after the futures close for Waller speaking. Still nothing changing with their path or their plan. Stock market, things like Tesla still down, banks still down, oil up, mega caps mixed. Semiconductors, we're getting a bounce play. This is going to set up for another rollover play from my perspective. So this is a bounce play in semis. FOMC, 60, close to 68% that we're still favoring that 75 basis point hike. So the market's still putting the money on the 75. So all those people citing, oh, well, they might even go shallower. At this point, unless we see a drastic change, the minor would be the 50 basis point hike. And if they did 50, I think 50 would be very on the table. I think the minimum between the next two Fed meetings, the minimum that will be done is 100 basis points combined between the two meetings. Not one, combined. That's the minimum for the next two. So my thoughts would be if they did 50 in November, they'd probably continue with a 50 in December. If they did 75 in November, they could consider a 25 in December. I doubt they will go less than 100 basis points for the remainder of the year. They have two meetings left, and then they pause going into February. Still a negative gamma. Volatility to the up and downside, which you did see today. Really interesting with the dealer hedging. Still out of extreme fear into fear with the fear and greed. After the close, not much going on in earnings. Now remember, tomorrow I will pay attention to Constellation Brands and McCormick from an inflationary and consumer food-related aspect. And then tomorrow after the close, nothing big, but Levi's. Let me get caught up on comments here. Powell printer turned into vacuum. Oh, you mean it's the reverse printer is sucking stuff back out? Well, what's funny is also, as we touched on yesterday, these continued rallies into the Fed meeting actually eases up financial conditions, which for the people who are rallying and saying, hey, it's rallying based off the Fed's going to go easier on it, actually rallies are counterproductive because that does feed into the Fed equation. It actually loosens up fiscal tightening. So, funny. Hello, Eric. So where did I miss anybody for the hellos? Amit Crazy. Tesla's thinking of removing the ultrasonic sensors on the cars and rely on vision 100% for even simple things like parking. They are finding ways, and that is ridiculous. Also, because look, I still unfortunately live in the Chicago area, out of the city, in the northern burbs. But I can tell you, you know what? You don't want vision stuff solely on a car around here, especially for the winter months. The vision gets blocked. Sensors get blocked. Vision-only stuff gets blocked. Even stuff like backup cameras, you get all the salt and other crap all over it. You can't even see your backup camera unless you get out to wipe it off all the time. You know what? Going vision-only is just insane. But I'm just going to leave it as that. You know what? Elon's obviously the smartest person in the world. Which can obviously be seen by the way he negotiates merger and acquisition deals. It's going to end very badly for them like Enron. Are we talking Tesla or something else? Or the Fed? Oh, do you think the company with market caps over $10 billion and negative EBITDA could go bankrupt in a recession? I mean, it all depends on and negative EBITDA, it still depends on their debt load, their balance sheet, and everything else they're holding. You could have some stuff. We could have some now strong. You did say negative EBITDA. Uh, you're gonna see some things go under, some things get hit, especially stuff that did not have that relied on short-term financing and now it has to refinance and can't. But your bigger balance sheets will be okay. This is trying to wean so many companies, especially non-profitable tech companies, off of cheap financing is going to be interesting, and we will see some interesting uh, restructuring. I will say restructuring plays coming up in 2023. You meant Tesla. There we go. Well, it's going to get very interesting for Tesla. Do you consider leaving Chicago? Yes. I was actually trying to move earlier this year, and due to some logistical issues, have not been able to yet. I've lived in a bunch of places. I have lived in a bunch of places. New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, Scottsdale, couple places in California, the Pacific Northwest, including the Vancouver area. So I have lived plenty of places. I've lived in Florida. Just temporarily still stuck here, hopefully to change. All right. This is what I talk about. Let's do a nice review. So we had the double top triggering. First, second targets hit almost that third target, but if you were watching, it's also why I watch the shorter term charts like this. Into the 4-hour rotation zone. As I've talked about, key resistance becoming support area with the rising 4-hour rotation zone. What's the point of a rotation zone? Especially the 4-hour daily and weekly are to watch for rotations. This was a rotation, catching on the bottom of the 4-hour rotation zone right by that prior resistance becoming support and forming a little micro 5-minute double. What does that mean for me personally when I see this partway down to the final target? It's just cover, especially in these markets catching on a 4-hour rotation zone. What do I love about this? That's why I say the next reaction tells us a lot. By the way, I put on the reverse harmonics. That gave me the end of day target, 38.18, then 38.27, bouncing off that 38.18. Also, this pullback area, show you what else. Because you're Xing, even on this bounce back, just showing you, there's some bounce back buys with momentum, but once you got the key close above the 62.5, you target the 87.5 to 100, and then on a continued area, that's where I like the reverse harmonics. So I get targets all the way up. And yes, we did get a fair amount of not fabulous momentum, but coming off of here, especially breaking above this little area that triggered the double and then just riding it higher. In the afternoon, you see this was decent momentum on the 15, sideways correction with the rising. Remember, as you get into the lunchtime, switch to your 15-minute if you're doing stuff intraday, and then use that as your key support running up. Now, why do I love this reaction? Because, all right, if you're long from lower, we now have another key area. So depending if you've taken something off, and again, I'm not giving specific trading advice because you can trade all different time frames. We have people long in here. We have people short in here. I'm trying to teach people a mindset. And if you want to take bits and pieces from my methodologies, then do so or research them yourself. This is why I like the secondary reaction, because now I have a key line in the sand, which means I can get more aggressive with trailing stop levels. What does that mean? We've had the reaction. First off, I'm going to do a little teaching, then we'll get to some other questions. We got the reaction at the first side of the declining rotation zone. Once that's broken, what do I watch out for? I'll watch for reactions closer to the other side. We are in a clear path move. We've now reacted to the other side. We've got the initial rotation back down, catching on that 4-hour rotation back up. What tips me into more significant bearish mode? Well, this is so from either a trailing stop or initiating. So from longer positions, this could be a final trailing stop level. You start getting a 4 or more aggressively 1-hour close, preferably 4-hour close below 37.34. And I like to do that on a closing basis unless we're breaking down with massive momentum. Then why would that be a stop level? Because we trigger on a closing basis a double top. It's still potential. And look at my targets. Well, they're the targets from there, so not my targets. That takes me down to the 62.5, and which is now raised. Hold on, which is raised a bit, but that's right in front of the final target. So you could easily hit the final target and still close above this, because this is the catch zone. Remember, you can break below it, but this is the area I watch for key closes. You get the 62.5, the close below that. Then I'm targeting the lows. And then we can do the reverse harmonics the other way. So that's now I have a roadmap already laid out. Does that mean that has to trigger? No. It's also why I put up the reverse harmonics. We bounced off there. Now we break above the 38.18 highs. We're also at the rotation zone. We're still into a clear path. The minor level is 38.43. More significant is the breakdown zone. The breakdown zone I've marked off 38.89. We got the 50. We got the 39.23 end of the clear path area. We start going through the daily rotation zone. What's the next higher rotation zone? The weekly. All right, I will watch this little minor area with that compressing towards 38.43, 38.50, but I'm more focused on this move into here that I already outlined. Also, where does that take me on the next key harmonics? Well, look at it between the 50 and the 62.5, where we watch for the next potential rollover. So from a continuing long, which I already talked about, where stops could be raised to, that you have a trailing stop. Some could have been lightened up already. You know, on a resumptive breakout, it could be re-added to depending on your trading strategy. But now I have the roadmap. We start getting a daily close above 39.48. Then we can continue to then I'm going to target, and that would be a daily close target, even higher prices closer to the weekly 50, which would take us to 87.5. This is why it's nice. Does that mean it has to unfold this way at all? No, but I have a roadmap, and I like having a roadmap because if I'm going on a road trip, I like a roadmap. Yes, you can hit construction. Yes, you can hit unplanned detours. Yes, you could hit some key weather event or major traffic accident, and you might have to take a detour. But at least you have a roadmap with a plotted route. Okay? So it's better than just winging it. That's what I'm trying to show people also. How the tools fit together. So it's very helpful for me to have a roadmap. Because then I can always deal with detours, bad weather events, an accident happens. Because those kind of things happen on a road trip and trading and investing. But at least I'm prepared. So, other things that I'm taking into account. Daily cycles not yet rolling over, but at a top. If we broke down and triggered this still potential double top, I'd be watching for daily cycles to be rolling over. I'm keeping that in mind. Does that mean we have to roll over? No. This potential pattern could never trigger. So worst case is I have a potential stop area. Also, for the people wondering if you can use %B signals as a stop area, yes. There would be a stop area below today's low, which just so happens, not because it's planned that way, just so happens to concur with the base of the potential double top. So there could be a double stop area that right there. Let's see. I hope that can help somebody, even if you're not here on the live stream and you're watching this on replay. I hope this, whether you use these tools or not, I'm trying to get a mindset through on how to construct a methodology so you at least have some mindset and you're not going into a trading day or week blind. And these kind of tools can be used on even higher time frames or shorter time frames. That's the reason they fit. Remind me if you want to peek at snow for the could accompany. Yes, and things like snow could go have restructuring issues. That's why I'm very cautious, especially on the momentum growth stocks that were. This is a question backlinking in before with the negative EBITDA. Yes, for stuff that was relied on cheap financing, and if they don't have everything shored up, I've not done a deep dive into every aspect of their balance sheet, but that would be something that would be on my radar for companies like Snow. What's the best state to live in? I think a lot of people will have a different answer on that. Personally, I like warm, so that puts me in the southern part of the country. Now, that would be my first criteria. My second criteria, now I will rather take anything warm than cold. Preferably, I like warm and dry. I would not rule out moving back to Florida, but I would prefer warm and dry, so that would put me in the Southwest, which is why I used to live in Arizona. Sorry, got sidetracked. Don't forget we have non-farm payrolls. Yes, we have non-farm payrolls on Friday, which I've talked about repeatedly, and CPI next week. And based off what the Fed said today, I doubt they're going to be, the market will react more than those to the Fed. Even Daily was talking about earlier, they're starting to see a little pullback in the job openings, as we saw with the numbers yesterday. But that's welcome. They're wanting to see that. That's not going to change their course of action. Why did Elon's cause this? That's Elon. He's the smartest man in the world. Don't forget. Don't question the smartest man in the world. I don't think he's moving forward with the deal yet. He had contingency outs with that thing based off financing, and that could be there could be issues trying to get that financing, which was possibly put in place last spring. Look, also the court's moving forward. You saw if you follow that from Delaware, it's moving forward with the trial. For all the people who said the trial's over, no, it's not. It's moving forward. Unless Twitter, they'd be raving idiots to not literally, you better have it's not even an Elon check in hand. It would be, from my perspective, like a cashier's check. It's like selling your car to somebody and they hand you a personal check and you handing them the title. Unless I know you, no, I'm not taking a personal check. It better be certified funds like a bank check. And preferably, I'd like to go to the bank with you and let's have it drawn there. And then I will hand you my title. That would be my perspective from Twitter at this point, given Elon. So are they just going to say, hey, forget this whole legal stuff that we've gone down this path and paid all this? You know what? Until I got check in hand, Elon, no. You could say, hey, look, my financing fell through. You canceled the lawsuit. My financing fell through. I'm walking. Then what do you do? So that's my little 2 cents on that. Move to St. Joe, Michigan so I can work for you. What do you want to do, Connor? What? You're going to sit there like you can type my stops in for me? Yeah, we had Mike's classroom session. If you find the classroom sessions boring or don't want me to touch on them or would just rather have me pontificate off of stuff that I think is, it's just fun, but I don't know how it helps people trade, then I'll do that if you find the classroom sessions boring. Nasdaq, by the way, I'm just asking. Nasdaq came down, hit all 3 targets in the double. Reversal up pretty much every analysis I just did off the S&P. You can see off the Nasdaq. Even down to the double bottom, right at the first target. This one did hit the full targets. I cannot always control which ones hit the full targets, which ones come close. That's why we watch for key patterns. That's why, there are probabilities aligned. So that's where we sit with that. I put up the harmonic. Should we break above today's high? Yes, this is another potential double. This is another potential double here. I was just peeking at something. So it's completely valid for a stop perspective. And you see all 3 go within the 4-hour candle bodies. And if you're doing your harmonics the other way from the lows, if I can click on the right thing, what's interesting is your first target is roughly just in front of the 62.5. So not only would you, if you close below the 62.5, I would not only be focusing on the third and final target, but the 87.5. If you came down the first target and bounced and did not close above 62.5, I would be more aggressive moving down a stop personally. So on the 4-hour basis, still no close above that 62.5, and I am watching the remember, higher time frames are more important than lower time frames, and test out with higher probabilities. But we start getting the move above here. You get the close tomorrow above the 62.5 on a higher time frame. Your overall 87.5 harmonic. Where's the major breakdown zone? I'd be using a stop raise, though, for trailing for longs is 11,917. The trailing stop at this point would be below on a closing basis. That would trigger that. Right now, still potential. This has not hit the other side of the rotation zone like the S&P. You are still in the clear path. That 11,920, 11 right here is the breakdown zone, which is the first target from the clear path. Interesting enough, the second target from the clear path is right there, which is virtually the other major prior support level. You see this little zone. So 12,045. Where does that fit in with the higher time frame? That takes you back to the bottom of the weekly rotation zone. So now we have our roadmap for this. Hello, Dr. Michael. Elon is likely a narcissist drama lover who favors Chinese and European buyers rather than Americans. I don't know about his favoritism with the buyers, but I do agree with the first part of your statement. I don't know if I go that far unless you want to define extreme narcissism as an illness. He's Elon. I don't know how people are so enamored like he's the smartest person in the world, because I'm not seeing it, and I got a degree in engineering. He's willing to do stuff that nobody else is, or very few people are willing to do from an ethical standpoint. I will give him that much. And he's willing to do stuff I would never do from an ethical standpoint, even for $1 billion. Because I got to be able to sleep at night. So, Connor, how do I have my percent B configured? I'm going to release those numbers. They are based, I'll give you a hint if you want to start doing some research. It's based off way shorter than the 14 and not 2 standard deviations. That does not work for shorter term, what I'm using it for. We'll get to Bitcoin in a second. I'm gonna, you know what, I've taught enough. Everybody, I would like everybody here to start doing some of your own analysis for the longer term people. I've shown you exactly what I did on the S&P and Nasdaq. You could replicate it on the Dow, which, even if you don't trade the Dow futures, you should try to replicate it anyway, because then you can come up with questions. Russell, by the way, coming back down to the full targets and then moving back up. Actually, this is now just eking out into a potential double top. Now I have to use the aggressive targets. I would shift to conservative just based off the strength of this move, but right now I will leave the aggressive on there so you can see that is a valid pattern. The rest of the analysis I will leave up to everyone. Dax, yes, even with this little hiccup in there, still valid. Here's your Dax breakdown, 12,471. Interesting, first target is right by the low. And when I see a target just on the side of this key gap low, I would technically just eke out to lower my stops at that low versus the first target because it's within dollars. Next target is coming in pretty much right at that spike high. Then the final target, it's just uncanny the way things work at times. Is the gap fill, essentially. Does that mean they're higher probabilities? No, this hasn't even triggered yet. Now, you can have very similar things play out because we have 2 very similar potential trades. But that is it. That's where it sits for the DAX in the short term. The notes coming back down, finally hitting that 50%. So key line in the sand for me, so that 111.27. But I'm watching for a shorter term bottoming pattern until we break back below the that 62.5. We have returned and fully finished that move to the daily rotation zone and broken below yesterday's low, which was a percent B stop. Still no long-term bottoming pattern just yet. Dollar index trying to put in a bottom. There is no new signal based off today, so nothing yet. There was an aggressive buy set earlier, which is still in place, but nothing based off the daily. The short term now I'm watching from this pausing bar for a continued rotation up move using my harmonic targets. My next key area is about 112.08 to 112.19. VIX, I'm keeping an eye on here also, especially if we trigger that potential double bottom potential double top, because we do have a potential double bottom here. However, if we start breaking down tomorrow and the indices stay at these high areas, I will focus on the next bullish push up and the gap fill first to this key open of 27.79 and then to the 27.31 area. Crude. This is not as big a move. That going to that next cluster area and the daily 50. If we do start breaking above 88.80, we are into another clear path move. The first target would be about 92.40, and then I'd be going to the week, more so into the weekly rotation zone. 92.40, 92.60 is my next major target area. And no, none of this price action invalidates the double top that hit the first target. This is just coming out of oversold conditions with weekly cycles at the bottom. This is also, this bigger double is for a major longer term recession play. So this can take a while to unfold. Bitcoin. There is just not much going on. If we continue the rally, Bitcoin has been really underperforming on a rally mode, stalling out against this weekly rotation zone. But we start really breaking above about 20,400. The next significant target area is only a corrective rally to about 21,830. And let's see where the harmonics take us. And that's right around that 50%. So that would be my next target, the upside. Personally, I'm watching for the next rollover play. Any bounces for this are to be sold from my personal perspective. There's no major sell pattern that currently, all the sell patterns have already triggered on the last rollover. Twitter deal in jeopardy. What do you mean Twitter deal in jeopardy? Twitter deal until it's a done deal. I think it's going to be forced to close, period. Whether it's from the trial or whether he finishes the deal that he, sent the letter to. It's going to be a done deal whether he likes it or not. It's just how he gets there kicking and screaming. George votes for Florida as the best state. I forgot to mention I did live in Las Vegas for a year. I prefer Arizona over Nevada, though. My sister used to live in Reno. Interesting, my sister now is having a place built in Jacksonville, Florida. So there's the George votes for Florida. She used to live in Reno, and she's moving. She sold her house in Dallas this spring, so they're building in Florida, in Jacksonville. Not like anybody cares. I lived in California, but let me say the political environment was not conducive to me. Arizona's hotter. I still like, even up above the rim, out of the bowl from Phoenix. I like the Prescott and even north. You know what? I like the Pine Forest areas. I like more northern, like Flagstaff. Flagstaff gets a little too much snow for me. I will probably not move back long term into the Phoenix area. It will probably be something above the rim where I still get some Four Seasons. I liked living in California besides the political climate. So hey, Christoph. This chart says we are in a recession. What's this chart? 30-year fixed mortgages have gone down over the last 3 months. Again, I think we're really close to hitting a recession. I don't think we're there quite yet. With what you're referring to, either put it on the Discord or send me an email. Everybody should know the support at the website. The bear market complete 10 months. We should celebrate now or wait till the end of the year. Would have been wise for Elon to lock in the rates earlier this year for the. It would have been wise after Elon forwent his due diligence. It would have been better for him to just complete the deal then or demand due diligence. He could have still, would have been a bunch easier to get the remaining financing back in the spring versus now. Means we're more in 2000 versus 2000. I think we'll see more I think we'll still see some more market moves like we saw in 08. I would actually tend to lean. I think we'll still see some more major substantial downdraft moves. So I would actually tend to lean more with a statement from George. Hopefully somebody reported that. Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sashi. Yes, California does have expensive gas. That's why you got to drive a Tesla. Go Tesla. Oh, jeez. That was a joke. I know there are Tesla drivers in here. Not picking on you. Just think at this point there's better EVs out there. Just saying. My opinion. I want to buy a lake house in Georgia, but waiting to see who wins the midterm there. Well, things can always change. We'll just wait for the pullback. Thank you, Anissa. So, we went through all that. Let's peek in at Tesla. Very narrow range day today. Not a narrow, I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of Twitter being the narrow range. Tesla coming back down, hitting the 75% harmonic. Still watching for us to hit the 87.5. I don't even have the gap fill play up here just yet. Still watching for the next rollover play in this from a short-term perspective before we hit the 87.5. Is there any reversal pattern? No. The only thing I'll be keeping an eye on a rally tomorrow is this little short-term gap fill play. Everything at this point, until we get the larger gap fill play, which would just be, from my perspective, wait for the next sell, is setting up for next sells. So nothing else has changed from my perspective with Twitter. So next level, 2033, 222.81 to 220.33, then retest the lows, then break of the lows. Major resistance. Keep an eye on this for even that upper gap fill play because your major resistance now coming in at 260. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Saw Rivians on the road today. What do you think of the Rivians? There's a Rivian, some guy drives one by my house every day where I live. He got one a few months ago. One of the pickups. I think it's a nice looking truck. Three, one after another. Yeah, that's... My sister used to live in San Diego before moving to Dallas. And she got out of well, she lived in Reno, then moved to San Diego, then moved to Dallas because she's like, I'm done with California. And then everybody followed her from California to Dallas. She's like, I'm out. I'm out. Now she's gone to Florida. Oh. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. I don't see anything else. Again, we'll have Bob on tomorrow afternoon. So that's where I'll wrap it up. I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Didn't get any feedback on the little classroom detour, so I hope it was okay. I love the kitchen built in Rivian trucks. I'm going to be probably picking up a new EV, hopefully this winter. Yeah, Texas houses did become expensive. There's one here in Bethesda, Midnight Black, looks hot, with the exception of the headlights. Still looks like Herbie to me. I was gonna wonder what the take on the headlights were, but there I got some from Ted. I lived in Northern Maryland, outside the Baltimore area for a while. Lived in Maryland too. Forgot to mention that. Uh, so, all right, teaching is the best. All right, so do you not mind if I go through some teaching times? I'm just trying to. Can't wait. Yeah, you'll get them. Yes, on classroom. Okay, we'll continue with the classroom. Mike, what level do you see if we break the recent lows in the Nasdaq? The recent lows? Everyone should be able to do that now. I'll be going 10 stills, 10-7. Here's the round numbers, 10-7, then 10-4. Those are my next round numbers. And then below that, I'm more keying off of 9,200. Those are my next major levels. Where do we sit? There's the new. What about Alabama? I have not lived in Alabama, but I did visit a number of times to Alabama. Sweden? I have not been to Sweden. That's one place I have not been. Would love to visit Sweden. Not moving there, though. I don't like the cold. I need the teaching time. This head is thick. Teaching is great. All right, thank you, Genomic. Have a good night. Thank you, Amit. You're welcome, Paul. Here's the irony. I was also born in Toronto, where I was born. Grew up in Miami, Florida. Well, funny thing is, my parents moved from Toronto for my dad's job to Lakeland, Florida when I was young. And I used to call Miami your Amy, because Miami wasn't mine, it was yours. Because I moved to Florida, it was your Amy. I moved to Chicago for 17 years and now live in Maryland. We are passing each other. So yeah, I lived in Lakeland for a while. Well, I will agree that it is a lump of toxic garbage. Mike, I will completely agree. It is an overvalued lump of toxic garbage. We are on the same page there. It's just hard to time the shorts. Georgia is nice. I've spent some time in Georgia. So, all right, with that, thank you again for the feedback on the teaching. We might do some more of that so everyone can help figure out their levels, which is important to me. And with that, I will see everybody tomorrow. UPS Daily Double Bottom and Amazon. You're just trying to eke this in? Yes, that is a triggered double bottom on UPS. Against the daily rotation zone, so slightly lower probability. But that is triggered. Completely valid. Amazon, yes, we've already had that. That's already hit the first stop level twice now. So yes, Amazon was still valid also. You're welcome, Eric. You're welcome, Jake. Love going to school with you. You are welcome, Ted. I will see everybody, hopefully, for the live stream tomorrow morning. Again, could you leave some extra comments when this is over and like the videos so we get some wider circulation, please? With that, I will tell everybody to also have a good night. Bye for now.